I am back and I'm ready to plant. And I'm going to start right here with this Aqua Pot. And as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you know, it's Memorial Day weekend when I'm working on this, and I think I want to go with a red, white, and blue theme. It's what's on my mind, and I think it's going to be really nice. And that's one of the nice things with red, white, and blue. Since there aren't a lot of really true blue flowers, sometimes you can let your pot do that work for you and get that color exactly that you want. So first thing I'm going to do before I even start working on this, I am going to plug up this little filling hole just because I don't want to get any dirt in there. And you could use tape or paper or something to, you know, fill that in. So for my white, I want to use this Sally Fun Pure White Salvia. I've had the Proven Winner one that I had ordered online, and it's looking beautiful. So I thought, I think I should do this one too, just so that we can see how they perform side by side, or at least, you know, nearby. Now that one has a little bit of an advantage, but I think that's okay. For my red, I'm not going with a true red. I'm going with the Super Tunia Mini Vista Scarlet. So it's a bit of a slightly orangey red, not like that true red that we sometimes think of, but I feel like kind of changing it up a little bit. This is such a beautiful plant because it gets so many flowers on it. The blooms are a little smaller than regular petunias, but it's a great performer. And then I was thinking about then also putting in a Itsy white petunia, and I like this one because the flowers are even smaller than the Mini Vista, and it's a great blanket petunia, and it just kind of would cover the side of this pot and go down. And I could potentially, if I was feeling very ambitious, put another Super Tunia Mini Vista in here, but I think that's going to be really pushing it. Now, the nice thing is with these Aqua Pots, because there's so much water in these, I am able to put more plants in than I maybe normally would be able to, but I feel like that would be really more than I need. I think I wouldn't quite get the effect that I'm going for. So I'm a little tempted to I could just go with one. Oh, this is such a hard decision for me. Or do I just kind of do something like this? I feel like with the white one in here, it's like I've got white, red. I don't know. There's just something feels a little bit off about that. So I'm thinking maybe I will put two Super Tunias in here. This is a lot of plants in here, but because it's self-watering, I'm going to take the chance and go that way, just because I wanted to fill out pretty nice and fast for me. So I think I'm going to have to take out some of this soil. I have a little more than I need. And when I'm doing a self-watering pot, I generally want to make sure that my soil's moist when I put it in there, because I don't want it to be a case where once I start filling the reservoir, the soil starts sucking all that water out. So I did fill these this morning, and it's afternoon now, so I have a feeling that you know, they're going to be, oop, I'm putting the wrong plant in, aren't I? I wanted to have this as my center. I'll have that one ready to go. And you know what? While I'm waiting, I think I'm going to take out the extra soil from the side of this one. Thank goodness I have this spare pot here to hold my soil. Don't want to waste it. Okay. So now, you guys are seeing me, you know, I'm getting a little weary. I've been doing a lot of planting, and a lot of customers have been around, and lots going on. So my brain isn't working quite the way it normally does. Yeah, I think this is going to be really beautiful. So it's worth giving it a try. I am, you know, making sure that I pay attention to where my watering hole is. Fortunately, it's very close to the drainage, or the drainage hole is there, and that crack that was in this pot is in the back too. So right now, it's going to look a little bare right here, and in some situation I might be tempted to maybe put like, maybe a trailing plant or a creeping Jenny, but with these Super Tunias, they fill in quite quickly, and so within 2 weeks you're going to barely notice that I've only got the two plants in. It's just going to look like one big giant one. At least that's my plan. So let's get this in there. Got to get a little more soil. Okay. I think we did pretty good on this one. And now I'm going to just take my little rag out, and we'll water these in a little bit. And I'll show you how to do that. Now for this other one, since I have this black container, I think, gosh, I really want to do something that's going to be brighter around there. So let me get rid of some of this soil. Normally I've underfilled my pots. Today, not so much. So I thought this CALIBRACHOA that I'm going to try, it's the Bloomtastic Rose Quartz. I haven't grown a Bloomtastic before, and I really want to give it a go. I thought this is going to be really pretty going over the edge. And then I also had these spicy electric white Bidens, and I just think these are really beautiful, and so I want to give those a go as well. And these get a decent size, like 12 inches or so they're going to be a nice mound. That's going to be a nice mound that's going to trail. I do love the idea of having this in the middle, and generally, as far as I know, these shamrock type plants, or they're called oxalis, they tend to like a decent amount of water. And then I just thought for something with a little height, I think I'm going to go with this Kufia. This is a totally tempted frosted violets. I just think this is going to be, you know, a nice little container. Now, I want to pay attention to where my drainage hole is, or not my drainage hole, but my filling hole. Now this one has a plug on it, so I don't have to worry about it. So this is going to be, for this situation, I'm going to have it be my back. So let's get this CALIBRACHOA in here. And so far these blooms, they're nice and big, and they're really quite attractive. So I'm happy to see that. So we'll get that all piled in there. We'll put the Bidens in on the sides. Some people call them Bidens as well. I don't think there's a wrong way to say that one. So we're gonna get that put in there. And these are itty bitty plants right now, but they're gonna fill out really quite nicely, I think. Every time I saw these in the trial garden, they were a perfect dome of flowers, and they did look electric, like someone had turned on a little light and they just lit up, kind of like a fire. Really very, very nice. And we're going to put our middle one in here. I don't know if this is the best thing to put in the center, but I just feel like this dark color, one of our employees just loved these two textures together, and I did too. I thought that would look really nice side by side. I think it also brings out some of the color in the center of the CALIBRACHOA. So I think it's worth giving it a try. We'll see how it does. If it's a failure, well, the other plants will take it over and we won't be able to see it anyway, right? And then we'll get the Kufia in here. Yeah, so this Kufia, the roots are really, you know, kind of swirling around. And you don't have to break up these roots, but you can if you want to. Again, with annuals, I don't worry about breaking up roots. I'm more concerned about that with trees and some of the shrubs, bigger shrubs. Okay. So there we have it. I think this is, I think the yellow is a really nice addition to it. I think that brightness is going to be great. And then I think these purples, they work pretty well together. I mean, these are similar but different enough, and I think what I like about them is that the blooms on the CALIBRACHOA have a different texture than the blooms on the Kufia, and I think that's been kind of the secret. Then we have these daisy shapes, so you have a very different shape of flower on the Bidens, so I think that's really nice. Okay, so 2 down, 2 to go. I've got my big ones to do, so let's see what we can do here. Let me move this stuff out of the way and get reorganized. Compared to the previous 2 containers, this one is quite roomy, so I can put a lot of plants in here. So I'm going to just plant it as I build it, so I'll surprise you with what kind of plants are going in here. So I do have these 2 Slingshot lemonberry petunias, and I'm just going to put these kind of spaced here in the front. I feel like I've been looking for a way to use these, and I just think, you know what, this is going to be a nice space for them. I haven't grown this particular petunia before, but I have been happy with the Slingshots before. They're from the same people who grow the Sure Shots and the Color Rush and a couple other petunias, the Bee's Knees, those type of things. So I think this is going to be quite attractive. And then I do want in the center, but I'm going to go center front because I have plans for back here. I'm going to put this Campfire Marshmallow Bidens. This one was new, I think, last year, and it gets a decent size, and I just feel like I needed something kind of mounded in the center that's going to create a cloud underneath the thing that I'm going to be planting back here. So hope you're ready for that one. And then on the sides, I wanted to put another pair of petunias, and might seem they're not necessarily matching to this one, but for some reason I feel like it works with the striped petunia going with that dark one along with this one. So this is a Supercal, and it's the Supercal Shocking Pink, and the color on this petunia is one of those like see it from the end of the driveway kind of colors. It's just a real standout, and think of this particular petunia as kind of partway between a Super Tunia and a Super Tunia Vista. It gets quite large, so be ready for it. Don't underestimate how big this one can get. Has that great flower coverage, and these are really very very weather tolerant plants as well, so they can get rained on. They can usually handle the wind. Any petunia, if it gets too much wind, might flop to one side or the other, but this one is known for being quite quite hardy against the weather. So, and most of the more modern premium petunias can handle, you know, rainstorms and wind and that type of thing. But, you know, some of them just perform a little better. So this is my front end. Here in the back, I have one more plant that I want to put in here, and it's a bit more unusual. It's a new one that I haven't grown before. It is a Calacasia, and is the Calacasia, oh, where's my tag? Calacasia Waikiki Royal Hawaii. It's a type of elephant ear, and I picked this one because it grew crooked in the pot. Also, when we were moving it, it got a hole in the leaf, and I thought, well, this is a good one for Corey to use for one of his videos, and I know it's going to straighten out. There's lots of baby ones coming up over there. So in order to get this to fit, I need to really dig a decent size hole here. So let's push this open. Oh boy. And let's just see if I'm close in size. Ooh, I'm getting there. A little bit more. I do find sometimes by popping the pot in there first, it helps me so I'm not kind of disturbing the plant quite as much. And also the pot becomes a little bit of a drill if I kind of rock it back and forth. So I like that about it. So I did put it in on an angle so that it's going to be growing kind of upright again. And ooh, look at that root action going on there. The nice thing about the Colocasias, the Alocasias, as well as a lot of others like the Canna and those type of things, don't worry about the roots. They're going to just find their way to the good soil. So I don't break them up or anything. You can if you want. That's not a big deal. Let me get this in here now. Ooh. I hope this is going to look really nice. I feel like this gets up to like 36 inches tall and wide. So it is going to just take off and really be quite dramatic. So I wanted to, it's going to create a little bit of a canopy over these flowers, and it shouldn't shade them too much, because that would be one concern that I might have, is that, oh, is this thing going to shade them? But I don't think it will, simply because, you know, it's going to be so big and they're kind of more loose rather than some kind of heavy dense canopy. I have to take some of my soil out. I got a little too much in here, but there we go. Now we've got 3 of 4 done. I have one more to go. So let's see what I do with that one. So this one is my broken pot with my Aqua Pot insert. And although the insert makes it really flexible and letting you be able to use whatever pot you want, I feel like there's the most chance for things maybe not to go right in this. So first of all, you do want to make sure that the container that you're using has a drainage hole on the bottom, because if you don't, that thing is just going to keep filling up and you're going to drown your plants. So you have to make sure you still have drainage holes. Also, when I put it in, this little telescoping arm or pipe, it's really nice that it's telescoping, but I feel like, number one, these things really pop off very easily, and the threading is so bad on them. That's a little annoying. I hope that's something that they fix in the future, because it is very frustrating. I think the telescoping part is intended to make it, if you have a shorter pot, you can get to it or whatever. But the one thing that can happen is if you are pushing it in and out, you could potentially like push it in too far, or I just feel like you could mess that up. I'm still worried, like, okay, I think it's in the right position. It should be fine. And I did have to extend it all the way and have it at the top. So I don't know. I just feel a little bit of stress with that, because I don't know how secure it is down there. Also, you have to be careful, because if I were to yank on it too much, that thread on the bottom could just let go, and then the whole thing could come out. And if that happens, you got to dig it out in order to be able to fill that thing, and you're probably going to get soil in there. So it's not perfect. And like I said, I do know that they have an upgrade of this. On the upgrade, there is like a float in here that's like a little pool noodle type thing that goes in here, and when it fills, you'll be able to see the little pool noodle, and that's how you know it's full. Whereas this one, you don't really know. So be kind of interesting. So this is going to be the back of my pot. I really want to use the Volcanica Solar Flare in this one. I love this coleus. It's absolutely beautiful. It only gets better as the season goes on. I love the edges on that and how bright they are and how intense the color gets on it. I had these on the 2 sides of my garage last year. I absolutely loved it. So I wanted to use it. I think it's a good one to have in here. So I'm going to put that one kind of towards the back. I don't know. It's interesting on this one because this pot has a decoration on it. I might use the decoration as my guide, as opposed to using, you know, right where I have the filling part here. And boy, my soil has dried quite a bit since this morning. So I'm just putting this one towards the back. I could put it in the center and arrange it that way, but I think today I'm just doing kind of a cluster of plants in here. I don't want to do like a formal type of design on this one. And then the next plant that I definitely want to put in here, it's called the Chameleon Atomic Orange. So this is a CALIBRACHOA that has a lot of color shifts. So it goes between pink and orange and kind of peach. It's not necessarily one that I would have immediately thought of matching to this, but I did notice like a lot of these blooms are a nice dark, rich kind of burgundy pink color that I think looks great with this coleus. So I think these two are going to work out fine together. So I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it. Oh, this one's definitely ready to get potted up. So right now I'm going to set it right there. And then I also have another CALIBRACHOA, and this is the Calatastic Mango. I love the color on this one. It's just really very attractive. It's almost like, you know, so it does have kind of a mango color, or maybe a little bit of a, well, not melon. It's like a yellow meets orange kind of color. So I was thinking of putting that one there. Again, I don't know that the habit's going to be the same or different. This one is one that we grew, so it's a little bit more mature than this one. And this one was in a smaller pot. So I'm giving, you know, this one has a bit of an advantage over it, but they may probably get similar in size. And then I also want to use this Lava Rose Coleus. This is a trailing variety of Coleus. And oh boy, this one is ready to get out of this pot. Ooh-hee. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is a situation that I might just break up these roots. Actually, they're not too bad once I start playing with them. I'm going to break those up because this one is definitely ready for a transplant. And this one I think gets pretty big. Let me look at the tag to tell you the size. It's 12 to 18 inches wide and 6 to 10 tall. I have a feeling it gets bigger than that. A lot of the trailing coleuses do. And trailing coleuses, you can pinch them if you need to. So if they start growing a little too much. Now, I know that in the same kind of from the same grower as that, they have the like the Burgundy Wedding Train, and there's a couple others in that series. That's the more vigorous one. So this one is a little less vigorous than some of the other ones, but I think it's still going to probably be quite vigorous. So I'm not going to panic too much. And I just feel like the texture on this and the color on it, although different than this, I think it just kind of brings it down. So we're going to be going up with this one, have some yellow on it, go down with this one. It has a little bit more green. I think it's going to be quite nice. We'll see though. If we don't like it, well, we'll just live with it because, hey, they're flowers and they're going to look great no matter what. So now we've got to figure out our watering technique for each one of these. So I've got to make sure that I fill the reservoirs. But the most important thing that you have to remember with a self-watering pot is at least for 2 weeks, you're going to need to top water like you would any other container, because the roots need to start to develop and those roots need to start going down to where the water is stored. So the water reservoir is down at the bottom. And although the soil is going to wick up the soil, the water, it might not get to those roots right away. So you're going to want to make sure that you're adding the water from the top, but you also want to make sure that your reservoir is full. So that way it's going to be filling up, you know, and be, you know, pulling that water up, wicking it up through the soil. And then now it can, now I think on the, I think I said it wrong in the last video. I think it's Vigo gardening or Vigo gardening or I don't remember how they pronounce it. Sorry guys over there. I don't know how to pronounce it right. They said for the first month to water it that way. Usually it's within 2 weeks, most of the, especially vigorous varieties. If you were starting out with really tiny plants that were maybe slow growing and it was cold out, you might need that full month. But I think for the most part, in 2 weeks, you can usually stop top watering, and then you only have to water from the reservoir, you know, so you enter in through the tube. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get my hose. Now, when I start out, because my soil has some fertilizer in it, I'm not going to worry too much about fertilizing right now. I could put some time release on here. That way, anytime it rains or anytime I top water, it's going to let some of that fertilizer out. But instead, I like to fertilize my water that I'm putting in. Now, I have seen, you know, a lot of people talk about how they fertilize their pots, but nobody has like a definitive way of doing it. So I'm going to tell you what I found works for my pots. And we've had beautiful self-watering pots out there. So number one, some people will put the granules, the time release granules right into it. That works. The only problem is I just keep wondering, like, wait, when do I know if I have to add more? How do I know if it's working? And you don't know. And that kind of frustrates me. I want to be able to say, okay, I know that it's getting the fertilizer that it needs when it needs it. So what I do instead is when I fill this reservoir, for the first time, I just fill it with regular water just because I feel like there's that fertilizer in the soil. The plants don't really need it right up front. But every subsequent watering, every time I put water into that reservoir, I mix a 1/3 ratio of what the container says. So a lot of times with a lot of them, it'll say, you know, 1 scoop per gallon. Well, I don't put a full scoop. I put like a third, and I don't measure it like exact, but I don't put a full scoop in because I don't want to be giving it fertilizer all the time. But by putting that third scoop in, it's the equivalent of basically giving it fertilizer every third watering, except it's getting continuous fertilizer. So I found that that works really, really well. So going a third dose. The other thing you could do is you just water regularly, because it is easier to fill the reservoir with your hose than having to mix fertilizer and then pour it down this little chute. So sometimes it's easier, like if you have the hose attachment, you can put it in there. But for some people, they like to still top fertilize. So when you're doing that, you're going to have your water soluble fertilizer, and you're going to just once a week top water. Don't worry about the fact that there's water in the reservoir. That's not a concern. The fertilizer is just going to work its way down. So that's what I found with fertilizing, and that's what's worked for us. We've had great success with the AquaPots. So I'm curious, I'm sure it's going to be very similar with these other ones. So that's what I do, and that should work for you guys. Well, this is my little take on these. Hope you guys found this helpful, and I will report later on in the season, let you know kind of what's going on with these. It'll be way at the end of the season, probably more August or September. So hey, look for that, and I will see you guys all in the next video.